Beautiful. And once we have the bare bones setup in place, now let's add a nav where we'll place a logo. And then right next to it, there's going to be some kind of div with a few classes that we'll add for styling. And then in there, we'll set up a heading one with a name, maybe a little bit of text, as well as button that eventually will navigate to a login register once we set up the React router, not at the moment. And then right next to it, we'll place our main image. So let's go back here. As far as my main return, I think I'm going to go with main tags. And then I want to place the logo in the nav. So let's go here with nav. So nav element, we're not going to add any classes for now. We're just going to go with image. Then for the source, we want to look for logo. And then for alternative, let's just write Jobify. And then we also want to add a class of logo. So let's say here class name, and that will be equal to logo. Again, there's going to be no styling at the moment since we haven't started using styled components, but at least we should see something on a page. Then right next to it, like I said, there's going to be a div with the main content. So I'm going to create a div with a class of container and page. Now container comes from the global classes. This just sets up the width pretty much that I can use in any component. And there's also going to be a page class that we'll use in our styled component. Then inside of it, we have two columns. Effectively, we have one column where we have all the info. And then in the other column, we're going to have our image. So therefore, inside of the container, we'll start with info first. And then for the info, we want to go with heading one. Let's just say job. And we'll add a little bit of styling. So I'll place a span inside. Let's say tracking here. And then right next to it, let's say app. Let's save that. Again, there's no styling. So at the moment, it's going to look somewhat ugly. Then after the heading one, we want to go with paragraph. And usually I use hipster ipsum. So if I go here with hipster ipsum, that's the text that I use. But you can always use just regular lorem as well. So I go here with whatever paragraphs, and then I just pick whichever text I want. And in this case, I think I'm going to go with this one. So inside of this paragraph, I'm just going to set it up. And then lastly, like I said, there's going to be a link that goes back to a register page. But at the moment, we haven't covered React Router. So let's just start simply by creating a button, and then we'll turn this one into a link. And here we have two classes. We have the global BTN class, and we also have BTN hero. And as far as the name, let's just say login and register. So once we set this one up, only thing that's missing here is side by side with this div, with this info. And you know what? Let me add a comment here. Let me say here info. And then right next to it, we'll place our image. Because again, there's going to be a 2-column layout on the big screen. And in fact, on a small screen, if you looked at the Jobify one on the phone, you notice that there's actually no image. So this image we're actually displaying only once we get to the big screen. So right next to our info div, we want to go here with second image. And in here, we want to display main. And as far as the alternative, I'm going to go with job hunt. And then let's add some classes here as well. Let's just say img. So this is pretty much a global image class that I'm using. And then I also want to add main img because again, we will be showing and hiding this particular image on different screens. And once we are done with the basic setup, and once we have our simple return, now let's talk about the styling that we're going to use throughout the project.